With the latest county hot topics, news, business, and events. It's time for Spotlight on Cumberland County. Now let's join our host, Commissioner Director Jim Sauro.
Well, I want to welcome everybody that's watching the show today. I'm Jim Sauro. I'm the Commissioner Director of Cumberland County. We're going to have a tremendous conversation with a very good friend of mine. We've known each other many, many years. We were just talking before the show, just how far we go back, and it's pretty good. We're not going to say how. It only show my age, but it's Jill Lombardo. Jill, I want to thank you for being on the show with me.
Thanks for having me.
Oh.
It's always good to spend some time with you.
Yes, it's really great. Jill is a very important person in the county. She won't acknowledge that, but she really is. She's involved with the Southern Regional Food Distribution Center on Mays Landing Road.
Correct.
And most people have no clue what I'm talking about. And it's a shame, really. There are things in Cumberland County that a lot of people don't even know exist.
Correct.
There are programs in Cumberland County that we find out that can help individuals no one even knows exist. And one of these is this Southern Regional Food Distribution Center, and it's right next door to a family shelter.
Correct.
Is that correct? But before we get into that, I want people to know about Jill Lombardo. Okay. Where did Jill Lombardo, where was she born and where did she grow up at?
Just like everyone else, I believe I was born in Newcomb Hospital.
Okay.
Back in the day. Grew up in Buna girl.
Okay.
Had the luxury of growing up in a little bit more of a smaller town, and then eventually my family moved to Vineland. When I was away at college, went to Fairleigh Dickinson for undergrad and for graduate school. So
What was your major? What did you graduate with?
I was a communications major
Okay.
as an undergrad, and I have my master's in public administration.
Okay.
Both from Fairleigh Dickinson, thanks to our CSJ and having the ability to attend college with other universities at the University Center. I was able to go back to school.
Oh, that was great.
And get my master's in public administration through our CSJ. At the time, it was Cumberland County College.
Colleges.
But it is a great opportunity for a lot of people, such as myself. I had a 5-year-old son at the time and a husband, trying to maneuver everything, and I could get the education that I needed to get my master's right in my own backyard. So it is a program that really does work for people of all ages.
And where did you go from there? What was your first job?
Minnesota National Bank.
Oh, okay.
I was the Director of Marketing and Advertising at Minnesota National Bank. Had the luxury of working with Dennis DeLazaro for a lot of years and a lot of really good folks.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while, Dennis DeLazaro.
Dennis DeLazaro
Really great
took
guy.
a chance with
Good
me
guy.
and hired me.
Yes.
Sometimes I think he probably thought, what was I doing? But Dennis was probably one of the best mentors I ever had. As far as
Great business guy.
yes,
He really was. He really is.
and he's just a great guy.
Yeah.
Just a great guy. Gave me an opportunity to take what I learned from college and do something for the bank and help it grow. And we opened up a number of branches and started a couple of different programs. We were a little bit more leading edge than we had been prior to me coming on board, because there was somebody there that he could go to and
Right.
have conversation with. But Dennis was a great mentor for a lot of years for me before I left the bank. Then I went into the restaurant business with my sister down in Avalon. We ran a restaurant called Nicole's Fine Cuisine in Avalon for a number of years. And then I wound up teaching as an adjunct instructor in the off season, because it was a seasonal restaurant that
Right.
I ran, and worked for Ken Ender at the college as an adjunct instructor, and then he brought me on board to start the Leadership Cumberland County program, which is where we reconnected a second time.
Right.
Because
That's
the
true.
first time was with the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
When I was
Violent chamber.
when I was chamber president, we both sat on the board and were very active. You and your wife Sue and a lot of other folks that are still around. And then Ken brought me on board, and you were in the inaugural class of Leadership Cumberland County, and
Ken was an interesting individual.
yes, he was.
He was, in my opinion, he was an innovator. he brought new ideas to Cumberland County, and one of them was that class.
Yes.
And I thought that was a really good class. I got a lot out of it. I really did.
One of the things that I admired about Ken was that wherever he went, he was always looking for something new. Like you said, he was an innovator, looking for what he could bring back to our community to make our community better. And I think Leadership Cumberland County, although it wasn't an academic program, really did a lot of good in the community with people learning about the community they live in, creating relationships.
That was the big thing.
Yes.
Creating relationships with all the people that were taking that course. Well, I called it a course. And there was a lot of programs in it that taught us about different segments of community.
Absolutely.
That's what I liked.
I think for a lot of us that lived in the vicinity of Vineland or in Cumberland County, there was still something for all of us to learn that we didn't know existed, or that was, another diamond in the rough, another gem that we overlooked. But the relationships that I think a lot of people formed, I still talk to a lot of people that were from one of the first classes.
Okay.
And it's always been amazing to me for them. I can run out to lunch with someone and run into someone from Leadership Cumberland County, and they're having lunch with somebody from Leadership Cumberland County that they met in the class, or they're, getting together with them somewhere. I happened to go to the CEO golf tournament this past summer. The shelter was one of the recipients of the proceeds, and I ran into a couple of the gentlemen who represented the CEO group in Leadership Cumberland County, and they're still the best of friends. And it's very heartwarming to see that people really valued the relationships that they were able to make being involved in the program, and that it's still going on 25 years later.
How did you make that shift from corporate America, to where you're at now? And by the way, I think you're doing a fabulous job. To everybody, if you ever get a chance to visit the Southern Regional Food Distribution Center, and it's on Mays Landing Road, and visit Jill, it is tremendous. It was an eye-opening. Just how much, and we'll get into that, how much food that you move. But I was just curious, how did you go from corporate America with the different businesses and then turn into this?
When my time at Leadership Cumberland County was over, I was doing some consulting work as a grant writer. A gentleman by the name of Al Fisher, who was the executive director at the time, had contacted me and said, "I hear you write grants. We need some help." And I was doing a lot of grant writing at the time because of COVID.
Got it. Okay.
Everyone was calling because they could get COVID money. But I had done some writing for the organization prior to that, started doing some programming for them. And then Mr. Fisher had decided that it was time for him to move on to the next phase of his professional career. And the board and I sat down and talked, and I was supposed to be an interim. And
so he was actually doing most of the grant writing at the time. Is that it?
I was doing it.
No, I mean before he hired you. Okay.
And they really wanted to get more into grant writing, knew that there were opportunities out there, but just needed someone that could be a little bit more concentrated with their efforts and had a little bit of a background, a little more of a background than just wanting to do a grant, wanting to write a grant. So Al and I spent some time together, gave me an opportunity to meet some of the board members as well. And then he decided that he was, again, going to move on to the next phase of his career. They asked me to stay on board as the interim, and I'm still here.
Well, you know what? That was the best thing that ever happened to him, and I really mean that. But you're not just in charge of the Southern Regional Distribution Center. You're also in charge of, which is next door, the Family Shelter.
Correct. So my official role is executive director of the Rural Development Corporation.
Which, does that combine both of them?
That is the parent nonprofit for both of them. That was founded in 1972 by a group of people that just really wanted to do some good stuff out in the community. And they found themselves really toward the southern end of Cumberland County for people that were in the outskirts, people that were, that couldn't get somewhere, people that couldn't receive services. And they did some real good work back in the day. And then I think they found themselves like in the homeless business. And the buildings where we are now used to be a boys' school. For a
Oh,
lot
like
of
that, I
years.
didn't know.
For
Okay.
a lot of years.
Okay.
Where the food distribution center is, where the gym used to be,
Mhm.
and down where the shelter buildings are, is they used to be. One of the buildings was a school, and two of them housed the boys because they lived there.
Okay.
And then for whatever reason, it closed. And then the building where the food distribution center became Patriot Manufacturing.
Okay.
And then they closed, and then this group came along and purchased the building and the property. It's 117 acres that we're on, and turned it into a shelter.
I will say, years ago, I was there when I
Mm-hmm.
first became a freeholder. At the time, they called them freeholders. And you you got into a really interesting situation to where the condition of the buildings when you came on board, correct?
Correct.
Right? They weren't in good condition when I saw them. So you inherited a situation there. And when you see it today, it's nothing like what it was before.
That was our number one priority. We had two priorities when I started. One was to get the buildings to be something that we could be proud of and that we felt secure leaving people into sleep
Right.
overnight and stay there. And the other, because it was in the middle of COVID, our COVID protocol was of the utmost priority. With the way that people slept, the way they ate, how long they stayed on one side of the building as compared to the other. We had a very sophisticated protocol that worked very well for us because from the time I started in November of 2020 through now, we had 12 cases of COVID with hundreds of people that have lived there.
Well, that's really negligible. I mean, it really is. That's an unbelievable
It's a great
low number.
Yep.
I heard that you recently, well, I had heard recently that you had changed the HVAC system
Absolutely.
and put a better filtering system.
That was one of the first things that we did. We had a good HVAC system. We decided that we were going to put a purification system in right away, and we put the purification system in probably within the first month that I was there. And we wound up talking to the state about it, and it turned out that the majority of the shelters, there's 144 shelters in the state of varying sizes and
Right.
need. And for those of us that had put the purification system in, our numbers were substantially lower, to the point now where if you ask for an HVAC system, you actually have to get a purification system in it or they won't fund it.
Good. That's a good thing.
And it works for a lot of other things. Keeps a lot of impurities out of the air. Helps now with people that have allergies and asthma. It really does help out a lot. You just got to stay on top of it, service it just like everything
Now,
else.
with the family shelter, how many families are you able to service?
So it really depends.
Or people? How many people are you able to?
So when I first started, we had 112 beds. We have a men's building that's single men. We have a women's building that are women, single women, and then single women with children. And if the family came, we would have to split them up. Dad would have to go over to the men's building. Right. Mom would go over to the women's building with the children. And that really wasn't the best place for them to be when you're in an uncomfortable situation, a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty about your future. And here you are, you can't be together 24/7, or for the vast majority of the time. So we had always talked about opening up Building 3. Building 3 had been open. At one point, if you went inside, it was probably a beautiful building inside. But it went into disrepair. And we started looking around and had conversations with some people. And Sandy Forsiski, the director of economic development from the City of Island, and Mayor Fanucci called me one day and said, "Can we talk?" And they had received money through a cohort that's the City of Island, Bridgeton, the City of Millville, and Fairfield Township that's recognized by HUD. And they had received some recovery money post-COVID, but it had to be used for homelessness. And they had decided that they were going to use it to open up Building 3.
Oh, that's great. So
So
that
that
became
was-
a family building.
So that became the family building. So that was how we received the money to redo the whole entire building. Sandy Forsiski was great to work with, so was Mayor Finucci. We're forever grateful because I don't necessarily know at the price tag that that building came in at, that we would have the opportunity to have done that.
Well, we're going to be talking about more things. In fact, how many families can stay in that particular building. But right now, what we have to do is we have to take a station break.
Okay.
Family owned, service oriented. Since 1960, Allen Associates has been a leader in insurance and financial services. We provide insurance services to roughly 300 groups, ranging from 2 to several thousand lives in the private and public sectors. With more than 60 years of experience and a staff of highly trained and dedicated professionals, Allen Associates is noted for its ability to build strong, long-term relationships with our clients and the communities we serve.
Allen Associates is the place to see. One-stop service, the best that can be. Whether finance, insurance, health, or medical, Allen Associates will make life so practical.
Call Allen Associates today at 856-692-2250. Allen Associates, your complete health and financial services in Vineland, New Jersey.
With the latest county hot topics, news, business, and events. It's time for Spotlight on Cumberland County. Now let's join our host, Commissioner Director Jim Sauro.
Well, welcome back. We appreciate everybody still hanging with us. I'm here speaking with the Executive Director of Rural Development Corporation, and Jill Lombardo is in charge of the Cumberland Family Shelter and the Southern Regional Food Distribution Center.
That's
Is that
correct.
Okay. We were talking about the building number 3. Okay, there are 3 buildings. Just in case. By the way, it's located on Mays Landing Road near Union Road. And there are 3 buildings there. And we were talking about building 3 and how the mayor of Vineland, Anthony Finucci, and the director of economic development, which is Sandy Forsiski, all right, they helped you out by getting you a grant to, or was it already?
They had received the money, and there was some caveats that had to go to homelessness, and said, we're going to invest in the shelter.
In the shelter. They were more or less like your savior for
Absolutely.
building 3. And that building is going to house families, correct?
Correct. So
the whole family.
The family, in this building, intact families will be able to stay together. So mom and dad and the kids will be able to stay together. And the other portion of it is that we'll be able to rehouse single dads with children. Which we hadn't been able to do in the past, because sometimes it's not appropriate to put some young kids down with a bunch of men.
Right.
And not necessarily a good thing to put one guy in with a bunch of women. So we had to be very selective about when we did take single dads with children.
Right.
But a lot of times we had to defer them, and the Board of Social Services would find them someplace else to go.
Okay.
Or we would work with another organization. And that was heartbreaking, because here's a dad trying to do the right thing, and we can't help him out. Right now we have 3 single dads in the building, and they're just doing the right stuff by their children, and it's great to know that we can finally help them instead of making it harder for them.
How many families or how many people can go into building 3?
We have 7 rooms. Each one of them has a kitchenette and full bathroom, a kitchen dining area, beds, dressers.
Oh, okay. So it's like a small.
It's like a small efficiency, yeah.
Okay.
And then plenty of room if you would have to put playpens in or cribs or anything like that. So we can put 7 families in that building. We have a total of 45 beds in that building. And then there's also a computer lab for the kids to use if they have homework. We had, up until recently, we had a family there that they were homeschooled, so they would go in there for school, so to speak.
Right, okay.
And then we have open offices there. So let's say DCP&P has to come on the property, unfortunately, and they need some privacy. There's an office that they can go to and speak with the family, or someone has an appointment with one of our partner nonprofits and needs some privacy. The Guidance Center, send a bunch of people come in and use those private offices for anyone on the property, so that they have some privacy. They're easy to get to, and there's like a small living room area where you can watch TV, and there's some art tables there for the kids to play on.
You have programs for the children there if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
correct?
We do.
And play areas.
We're going to be putting in an industrial commercial size playground this summer, thanks to some funding that we had received from just a really odd source, but that's what we had said we were going to do with the money. So there'll be a playground going in. But the buildings are in good shape. A lot of work has been done to them, but I can't do what I do every day without the people that work for me. I have a tremendous person in Stephanie Saka, who is my lead social worker, and she keeps everything rolling on the social services side, whether it's dealing with the Board of Social Services, whether it's putting someone in touch with the Guidance Center because they may need some mental health services, whether it's working to get someone into a nursing home because they really can't take good care of themselves anymore, and the lengthy process that one goes through for that. She has a great staff with Marquita and John. John is our family resource navigator. He's the one who does all the programming for the kids.
Oh, okay.
He does a lot inside house with arts and crafts for the kids and family bingo night. But the kids go to the movies, they go bowling, they go roller skating, they go out to eat, they go to the zoo. So we don't want the kids to ever feel like they're being punished because they're at the shelter. So John does a great job of making sure that the kids feel like they're doing the things that everybody else is doing.
Now, who decides? Help me with the process. Who decides that they're going to come to your shelter? Okay, or how does it work?
So if someone from the county needed assistance, they call the shelter.
Okay.
And they do a screening. We ask them a series of questions, and then the social worker, Stephanie Marquita, will get the screening, and the first thing we're going to do is a background check, because there are times that we have to turn people down because of their history.
Right. Okay.
We would turn someone down if they had the ability or past of causing harm to someone else, especially women and children. So they would get turned down for that reason. We would do a referral to someone else. And then we go into a system called HIMSS, which is the Homeless Management Information System that's statewide. And we would look to see where they've been most recently.
Okay.
Because some of them are puddle jumpers. They go from one county to the other.
Well, you had said that they called the shelter. So here's what I'm going to tell everybody. Get your pens and pencils and your paper. Okay, so in about 5 minutes or, Jill's going to be able to give you the phone number, websites, and some information, because I think that's going to be important.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times we fire out a phone number and nobody has something to write.
Right.
So everybody, if you're interested, of course, or you might know somebody that needs these kind of services, get a paper and pen. And as I said, in a couple minutes, we'll have Jill give you all that information. But no, continue.
So Stephanie and her crew do a great job at making sure that people are getting the services that they need. We were recently refunded, and we're going to have a mental health counselor on property, being able to connect people with additional services. We were funded as one of the 3 pilot programs in the state of New Jersey.
Now, is that one of the grants that you had to write, or they just recognize you?
You had to write for that one.
Okay.
And that program ran for a year. They just recently contacted us and said there was some additional money left over. What did we want to do with it? We had one of the counselors that was tremendous at connecting people to the resources that they needed. She's going to come back on for like a half a day a week, which is a lot for her. But she'll be able to go back and reconnect people with the resources. And then, we have 30 people that work in the shelter.
I didn't realize there was that many people.
We have 30
Is it shifts?
It's shifts.
Right.
We have 3 shifts a day, 3 buildings. There has to be 2 people in each building. Krista is our shelter supervisor, and she oversees the buildings operationally on a daily basis, as well as the staff that works there. So we always have people there 24/7. Christmas, you name it, snowstorms.
Doesn't matter.
Last week's fires across the street.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
We left out. We left out. It was much further down Union Road, but we could still smell it and see the smoke. But as far as getting anywhere near close, we were very, very lucky.
I'm sure they will notice that if they had to evacuate, they would.
They were landing the helicopter in the property. They were like, "Oh my God, what's going on?"
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask Jill to give the phone number we have it right on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's when you have a great production manager out there. Okay.
One of the things that I'd like to call to your attention, though, is
Go ahead.
on the housing assistance. We've been funded by the state and by the county to help people that are in arrears.
Okay.
As well as people that are homeless that are looking to move into a place. Because part of our job being the shelter is to prevent people from being homeless.
Correct.
So that number, that 856-300-5821, is the Housing Assistance Department area, and you can talk to Tiffany when you call.
Well, when they call that 211, what is happening there?
So 211 is statewide.
Okay.
So, and if anybody needed anything, not just homelessness, but if you needed to find mental health help, if you needed to find addiction help, if you needed to find a way to reach out for an elderly parent, whatever, that's 211. You can call them and tell them what county you're in and what kind of resources you're looking for, and they'll connect you with the resources.
Okay.
When our office closes, if you call 211, they'll patch you right over to us.
Oh, okay.
The operator will literally say, "Hi, I'm calling from 211. I have a phone call coming in to you now." Okay. So if someone was on the street and they just knew to call 211, they would call 211 and it would come right over to us if they didn't know our number.
That's a number that a lot of people don't even know about.
211's been around for a long time, and they've done a lot of really good things. They've been through some rebirths and rehabbing, but it works out really well for us.
And the other local numbers, are they going to you or are they going somewhere else? For instance, so you have screening for immediate assistance. I see an 856-825-3144. That's your number? Mm-hmm. Okay. The domestic violence, that's a statewide number?
That's the safe number, correct. We do a lot of work with the domestic violence group. So when they're full, sometimes they'll take some of the people that they need to help because they still need a place to go. Or if they're leaving their shelter and don't have anywhere to go and they're still homeless, we'll work with them to try and keep them from being out on the street.
How many different agencies do you work with?
I couldn't even tell you.
Really?
I couldn't even tell you. Everyone that comes to us has a different needs.
Right.
So we could go from helping a mom with domestic violence to helping a gentleman going into assisted living because he needs someone to help take care of him, to someone that's going into rehab, to John working with one of the schools because a family came in and they need to make sure that the kids get back to school ASAP.
Now, the kids that are there, are they picked up by buses to go to different schools?
Absolutely. That's part of John's job.
Okay.
So when the kids get there, the first thing that we do is make sure that have a meeting with the families to decide where the kids are going to go to school. So because of McKinley-Vento, which is probably one of the best things the federal government ever did, is supporting children that are homeless. There's a McKinley-Vento in each school district, and some of them there's more than one depending upon the size of the school district. So John will work with the McKinley-Vento rep to say the child is now with us. They want to stay in the Richland School District. They want to stay in the Violent School District. And they'll work with transportation so that a bus will come out and pick up the child if they don't have transportation to make sure that the child gets to school. And then because we're located in the Violent system, if a child doesn't want to go to one of the local where they were going prior to coming to us, they can transfer over to Vineland, and John will work with the McKinley Vento rep to have all the paperwork, grades, whatever else the child may need to transfer over to Vineland, and then the transportation will take place as well.
Do you find problems with transportation?
Not for the school system, for the general public, yes.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest reasons why people don't want to come stay with us. That is, they're actually.
We're hoping that in the future, Cumberland County is going to make a difference with that. We are looking to do a Cumberland County Transit. And
that would be wonderful.
We're trying to do a fixed routing. We're working with people. Sue, okay, is in charge of CATS, and she's been working diligently contacting individuals throughout the state to see how we can work this in. And I'm very interested in making this work for Cumberland County, along with Sue is. So we're going to try to make a difference, is what we're going to try to do.
That would be wonderful.
Now, what we need to do is we have to take a station break again. Pay bills.
Okay.
Family owned, service oriented. Since 1960, Allen Associates has been a leader in insurance and financial services. We provide insurance services to roughly 300 groups, ranging from 2 to several thousand lives in the private and public sectors. With more than 60 years of experience and a staff of highly trained and dedicated professionals, Allen Associates is noted for its ability to build strong, long-term relationships with our clients and the communities we serve.
Allen Associates is the place to see. One-stop service, the best that can be. Whether finance, insurance, health, or medical, Allen Associates will make life so practical.
Call Allen Associates today at 856-692-2250. Allen Associates, your complete health and financial services in Vineland, New Jersey.
With the latest county hot topics, news, business, and events. It's time for Spotlight on Cumberland County. Now let's join our host, Commissioner Director Jim Sauro.
Welcome back. We're speaking with the Executive Director of the Rural Development Corporation, which includes Cumberland Family Shelter and the Southern Regional Food Distribution Center. And what we want to do is kind of change, well, before we do, is there a website that people can get to for both of them?
Sure. You can go to ruraldevelopmentcorp.org. You can also go to Cumberland Family Shelter. You can also go to Southern Regional Food Distribution Center, but it's really the SRFCD. It's a little long after.
I understand it, yeah. But no, I just wanted the people to know that if you wanted more information, you can go to the website. And we'll say it again a little bit later to make sure everybody gets that. Again, keep your pens and pencils and paper there, so in case you have to write it down. I know I would, but that's not a subject. The Food Distribution Center. I want everybody to know what Jill and her staff did recently when we had a major problem in Cumberland County where individuals that had food, I say food stamps, that's not the right. What's it called now?
EBT.
EBT. Okay.
EBT cards.
EBT cards that they use to get food. There was a scam happening in Cumberland County, and when you would swipe the card, you lost all the money from the card. So all these people who did this were possibly not going to be able to eat that month.
Correct.
Okay. And I just want to say that you and your staff and everything, you stepped forward and you made sure that through different distributions throughout the county, right, they were able to come and get food for that day or week, or really for the whole month, correct?
Correct. So that project would not have happened if it wasn't for Cheryl Golden of the Board of Social Services and her group,
Right.
because it took a phone call. Hey, Joe, Cheryl, this is what we have going on. What can we do to work together to get this, to try and help these people? So once again, it's collaboration in the county and how we can work together to help people. You're sending Nick White, who's our food coordinator, tremendous individual, is super, super good at what she does. Said, let me reach out to some of the pantries that we do business with, that we supply food to. And she was able to get a pantry in Brixton, Melville, and Vineland, so that it was convenient for the people that needed to come out and get food. They ran a separate day, so they had their volunteers come out for another time. And it was at a different day and different time, so it was only for the people that had the EBT, that their EBT cards were compromised.
And then they have to prove that.
So Cheryl and her group called everybody to tell them that these are the 3 spots, these are the days and times that they're running, and then they sent them a voucher so that we knew, in fact, that they were there, and we would be able to keep track of the number of people that came through for it. So
this is one of the times the government really came through for the people. Thank God. But I just want to tell everybody how you stepped up. And Cheryl also did a great job.
Cheryl did a great job, and like you said, her office did a tremendous job as well.
And they had to actually call all these people.
They called every single person. There was, I think it wound up being over 400 people, 300 to 400 people that had lost their cards, or their cards were compromised, and they called every single one of them, told them the dates, sent them the information, and then we worked with the pantries that we supply food to, and they were great people. They were great volunteers to be able to say, yeah, we're going to help these people too.
Well, I have to give kudos also to our consumer affairs people at the county that work for the county. They got a fix for it. They went out and literally fixed these machines and made it so it can't happen again. Hopefully, they're saying that the government will put a chip in the card, so this way it doesn't ever happen. But I got to give, again, I have to applaud our consumer affairs group. They did a great job in preventing it from happening.
You know, one of the highlights of what I do on a regular basis is that we get to see and work with organizations that when people need us the most, that we can come through and we can work together. And, you know, you might not necessarily like the decisions that we make or the decisions that county government makes periodically, or even the people at the Board of Social Services. But I think that everybody needs to understand that we all go to work with the intent of helping people every day. And there are times that we can really come together and, you know, say, we're going to help people because they're in a bad way. And there were people that were walking in to pick up food and they had tears in their eyes because they didn't know how they were going to eat. They were going to have to wait till April to get their money. So it was a really warming feeling to know that not only was the Board of Social Services, our group involved, the 3 pantries involved, you know, and then people that worked for all of us, whether they were volunteers at the pantry, people that work in the boss, or people that work for us, they said, you know what, okay, I'm going to do what I have to do, and we're going to make this happen, and people are going to be fed.
People have to see your operation. It's unbelievable. It's staggering. How big is that building?
It's pretty big. The area where they store the food is, well, up until last year, it was the size of a gymnasium. And then we added on in the back. But once again, you know, it could be as big as it's going to be. We move a lot of food through there. We probably were very close to about 4 million pounds last year.
Really?
Of food that we moved through.
There's only one deficiency in that building. Those stairs.
Oh my God.
That's a lot of stairs.
Everyone talks about the stairs. I think they were designed for like the old headmaster woman that had her hair pulled back tight with the little glasses.
Okay, there's a lot of stairs.
They're going to keep you awake.
How many pantries do you service?
Today, about 145.
Now, is it only in Cumberland County? Or
we go as far north as Elizabeth and as far...
Oh, really?
Yes. We go as far north as Elizabeth and as far south as Cape May.
That I didn't know. Okay, so...
The majority of them are in the greater Cumberland County Salem, Gloucester County area. The majority of them are closer to
Okay.
home, but we do service some up in the Elizabeth area, greater Elizabeth area, Mercer County, Burlington, Cape May, Atlantic.
Wow.
Yep.
See, I never knew that.
Yep.
This is what I'm saying. Now, do you have your own vehicles?
We do.
You own your own vehicles?
We have a box truck and a van, cargo van, and then some of the organizations come to us to pick up their food.
Okay, they'll
because-
come down.
Right,
then.
because of the way they distribute,
Right,
it's easier
okay.
for them to come to us on their distribution day, and then others we deliver to.
Now you have a schedule per pantry per day, is that it, or?
Jess has got the logistics down like nobody's business. She can tell you who's coming a week from Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Absolutely.
That's-
She's very, very good at her job. Very good at her job.
How many-
And loves what she does.
How many pounds again?
Close to 4 million.
4 million pounds.
So that was our second most poundage in a year. During COVID, they were pouring food
Okay.
into us because stores were closed, et cetera, et cetera. We were over 4 million. We were just slightly less than 4 million this time.
Now, I guess some people would question, where do you get the food?
So we're one of 6 recognized food banks in the state of New Jersey. We're recognized by the state of New Jersey.
Okay,
Community Food Bank would be the largest. Mercer Street Friends in Mercer County. Northwest Cap up in the northwestern part of New Jersey. Fulfill in the Monmouth County area. And then the the food bank of South Jersey out of Pennsauken, and then us. So we're the furthest south.
okay.
We're the furthest south in food banks, and we're the furthest south in shelters.
There's nobody further.
No.
That's it.
That's
We're
it.
it. We're the last
We're the
oasis.
We're the last one here, the last of the Mohicans, I guess
Okay.
you could say. So we do receive funding from them. We're part of the budget, the state budget. We're hoping that we can stay part of the state budget.
Okay,
All of us receive a portion of that budget, and we can turn around and spend that money in our community, which we do. That's something that we're really proud of. We buy meat from Maine Meats. We buy groceries from our good friends at Patino's. We work
Okay.
with Paul Ardilli on produce. We're buying fish out of Cape May from a young couple that has their own, the Scalp Shack. And every single one of them is a tremendous partner in that they understand what we do.
right.
And they're there to help us do what we do.
Do you do anything with local farmers?
Through Paul Ardilli, we do. Everything we buy through Paul is with local farmers.
Okay,
And then we are starting a new program in the latter part of May with Paul, that the number 2s,
okay,
they traditionally get tossed. We're gonna create a market for that in the food business. So Paul is willing to work with us when he has number 2s available.
okay.
And there's nothing wrong with them. They're just not that bright red of a red pepper to sit
Correct.
in a grocery
Yes,
store.
yes.
That we're going to be working with some of the other food banks, as well as Paul and him working with some of the farmers to kind of marry us together so that we can buy the number 2s, so the farmers are making a little bit more money, and we're getting more bang for our buck, so to speak, so we can feed more people. So it's a win for everyone.
So you have deliveries every day then?
Every single day.
Every day?
Every day, there's not a day that goes by that we don't have deliveries.
Is
There's
it
not a
all day or is it timed? or-
Most of the time it's in the morning, because then when we deliver to an organization or they come in to pick up, then traditionally their distribution day is that afternoon.
Got it.
Or they spend time doing the distribution within themselves, like dividing everything out to give to their families, and then their distribution will be the next day.
Now, the pantries do not pay you anything.
No, they
correct?
do not.
This is, all your monies are either from the state or grants that you write yourself,
Or food that we get from
or food that we get.
right. And sometimes, the different businesses over at the Environment Industrial Park, and even some of the farmers and a lot of the truckers know who we are now, and they'll come through and they'll say, hey, So-and-so wouldn't take this, the pallet was broken at the bottom, there's nothing wrong with it, can I drop it off to you?
Okay.
Some of the manufacturers in the Violent Industrial Park will have overruns or change of season. Or even some of the freezer guys, that someone didn't come back, and they'll give us a call.
Oh, okay.
So there are a lot of different ways that we can get donations from businesses in the area. So it's just,
So you have your own walk-in, you have your own
Oh, yeah.
freezers, right?
Mhm.
So you have frozen food that's ready to
We have
go.
frozen food that's ready to go. We have frozen food that's stored off the air property.
Mm-hmm.
And we just try to get in as much food as we can. Jess is really good at making sure that the stuff that we buy and the food that we bring in are meal worthy. It's not just food, but it's something a family can put together. One of the newest programs that we have going on is, in fact, we just met with representatives from Millville School District today, is we're actually putting pantries in the schools now.
Oh, will they be able to take the food home? The children
Yes.
take the food home then?
Yep.
Great idea. That is truly a great idea.
Amy is our outreach person for the schools, and she had a meeting today with representatives from each one of the schools in Millville to talk about how they were going to get up and running. So we're doing a hybrid program with the schools. We have one school in Millville right now, the daycare in Millville, and they have a distribution day. They give it all out.
Right.
We have some of the other schools that we're working with, Fairfield Township. Their school, it's stable, shelf-life food.
Okay.
So that if a kid comes in and says, we're not going to have anything for dinner tonight, they can give them stuff that they could go home and make
Right.
pasta, chili, stew.
Now, do they have to qualify for any of this?
Not right now, no.
They just tell you that we need it, and
That's it. When it comes to the kids, yes.
that's great. It really is great.
And even at the pantries, they don't have to qualify. And they don't have to give their addresses either. Because we didn't want to deter anyone from not showing up.
Right. Wow. And this all happens out of that one building.
Mm-hmm.
How many people work in that building?
20.
That's it.
On both sides of the house, yeah. We have a hard-working staff.
I was going to say, it's
We
a
have a-
skeleton staff.
we have-
For
a
all the
hard-
food that you're moving, you would think you would need more than just,
We have a small staff that's very dedicated. We have, if you keep it simple and you don't get too overwhelmed with a lot of things that don't need to take place, you can really get a lot done in a short period of time. Again, we have great partners that are donating food, partners that would help us get food out if we needed to.
do you accept private donations?
Yes. We do.
Okay. Again, I hope everybody has their pens and pencils. So the question is, how do they go about doing that? How do they go about, if they wanted to donate to either the food distribution center or the shelter, what would they need to do?
So if they wanted to do a monetary donation, they could go up on our website
Okay.
and make a donation there.
Okay.
And then under the description, just say which way you would want it, where you want it to go to, or just say to the organization in general. We have, for the traditional citizen, we take in donations of used clothing as long as it's in good shape. And toiletries, we're always looking for toiletries. There's a list up online, I think, that shows you the stuff that we're traditionally looking for. Because we have so many transient people that there's certain things you just personally don't share. But we do take clothing donations. We also help others out. So if there's a nonprofit out there that says we had a family that was in a fire, we have someone that just showed up at our doorstep and we don't have clothes for the kids, they'll call us and we'll.
So in other words, people can actually drop off clothes
Correct.
to the shelter then,
Correct.
or to the distribution.
To the distribution area, and then we'll go through it. And we have an area upstairs in the building that we store based on size. And then again, if one of our pantries or one of our partners calls and says, we need clothing, we have a bunch of kids here that don't have summer clothes.
How many pantries are really in Cumberland County?
Out of 145, probably 90.
Really?
Yeah.
That many pantries?
hmm There's a lot of people doing a lot of good stuff in our community that we don't necessarily pay attention to because
So I kind of figured that it would be Vine and Noble, Bridgeton, but is
Some of the
there
outlying
any outline?
Yep, some of the outlying areas, some of the nonprofits. There's a nonprofit out in Upper Deerfield that just became a pantry in December, but they don't, and I would say who it is. Great friend of mine, love her to death, but they only give out to the people that they
Okay,
service.
got it. All right.
So in some cases, it's the people that they service, that they use, that they help.
What would be the easiest way for an individual to find a pantry in their area? How would you go about doing that?
You could write to us contact us.
Okay.
And we would give you the pantries that we serve, the community food bank as well as the community, the food bank of Southern New Jersey.
Okay.
They also come into the area as well. But we would give you the list of the food banks that we serve because we know for sure that that's the day and time that they serve people. And we would email it back to you and you would be able to know when they will come.
I'm going to
into
ask
the
you
area.
to do the website again and the phone number, if you could do that.
Okay, worlddevelopmentcorp.org is the general. You can go to cumberlandfamilyshelter.com and you can go to Southern Regional Food Distribution Center.org for those three. And they all go to the same place. They're just going to take you to different spots on the page. And then for anyone that needs help, immediate help, emergency assistance, 856-825-3144. 24 hours a day, you're going to get someone that answers the phone.
And if somebody was couldn't remember that number, they just hit 211, could they ask for your...
Yes, and they could say that they're homeless in Cumberland County, and they would put them through.
Got it. So in other words, remember everybody, 211
211
is a magic number. I really didn't know about it. I'm glad I saw it on your website. 211, in a panic, need something. Tell them you are from Cumberland County, and they'll definitely get it over to either the family shelter or the.
Right, but you could also use 211 for almost anything that you need. Any kind of human services that you need. You can call and get referrals and numbers and.
And again, what's great about your facility is that you have your own social workers, and I just couldn't get over when I did go through it. How concerned the people working there were with the individuals they were working with the families, okay? And the play areas, the programs that were there, and it's very clean. You guys keep it very clean. I got it. You wouldn't think that only because you're getting people from all over coming in, and you wouldn't think that would stay that clean. But you really do a great job, and
I couldn't do it without my staff.
right.
My staff is tremendous, and the support of the board. The board has been very supportive of everyone across the property, very supportive of me, which I'm very grateful for. But they're also very supportive of the people who work there. I mean, everybody knows one another. They're not.
I mean, you go home sometimes going, "Oh my God, what did I do?"
In COVID, I did. In COVID, I was like, "What did I walk into?" And then you get to work with the board, and then you get to really get to know the people and know how much they care, and then you know how much need is out there. I mean, homelessness isn't going away. Any near future, we have plenty of people that are able to rent homes but can't find one. Rent is very, very high right now. Some of the landlords are asking for a lot from someone.
Yes.
And I know that they're trying to protect themselves because they probably, didn't do well after the moratorium. But we have a lot of people at the shelter and a lot of people that we work with that are just good people that just missed that qualifying mark.
Right.
And, if we could get a couple of landlords to be like, you know what, okay, they're making 3 times the amount of money that they need for their rent, not 3.5 times, or I could lower it by $100. That would make all the difference in the world to some people.
Now, because you know a lot of people, are there assistance for renting? Is there any kind of assistance for helping an individual for rent?
Well, we can help people with move-in
Okay.
money and first months. We can help them if they're in arrears. I know that the Board of Social Services does help as well. But when it comes, and there's other organizations, the Veterans Organization can help vets with
Right.
their places. They do a real nice job. We work with them as well. But it's just really tough because we can find the money to help them. We just have to be able to find places for them to be able to live.
You know, we could talk for hours. But everybody, I want you, if you can, take the time to even just go by. It's on, the address would be what?
6140 News Landing Road.
6140.
Yeah, we're right after that big, beautiful home.
Yeah, okay. So in other words, if you went down Union Road and you were going south, okay, on Union, and you get to Bays Landing Road, you would make a left. Go by the big home, okay, and they're on the left-hand side. Go by there. Please visit the website, and if you can make a donation, do that. If you have clothes and they're in good shape, bring them over to them. I'm sure, especially in the wintertime, they definitely could use coats and blankets or whatever.
We have an upcoming fundraiser, the big golf tournament that we do every September.
Say it.
Could use some sponsors and some really cool silent auction gifts if someone
So
would like
how
to donate.
how do they contact you for that
They can
sponsorship?
call that phone number.
There you go. Not 211, but 856
327-3143.
3143.
Or they can contact my wonderful, wonderful golf chairman, Mr. Todd Bonadonna.
Okay, there you go.
And a lot of people know Todd, so yeah, if you wanted to help out and be recognized for helping out, we do have a number of sponsorships that you can take out. You can come play with us as well. We play down at the Great Bay Country Club in Summers Point
Okay.
in September, where it's a little bit cooler. That information will be going out to the general public next week, but if you're interested, you can give me a call, and we're always looking for sponsorships and great silent auction prizes.
Was there anything you wanted to add before we go off here?
I think that one thing that I would like to add, and I hope that I can drive this point home a little bit more, is we help people when they're almost at the worst part of their life and they have nowhere else to go. And we do a beautiful job of it. I can't do it without my staff and the support of my board. But it's because of the relationships that we have out in the community that we can really, really get it done. And so it's everyone out there. It's the guidance center, it's the hospital, it's Ascenda, it's City Hall, all the city halls, it's all the police stations, you name it. If we didn't
You're
have,
involved with it.
but that's what it allows us to do what we do, and that's what allows us to follow up with people to make sure that they're still okay a week from now, a couple months from now. So none of us can do it alone, and it's nice to know that we can do it with partnering with others, like the Board of Social Services, like the commissioners.
We're going to work on that one.
Well,
Anyway.
it's nice to know that we have your support.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As well as some other people that work for county government. But we couldn't do what we do by ourselves, and we're only really good at it because I have a great staff, but we also have a lot of people in the community that we can reach out to and partner up with to take care
Oh,
of
may
people.
God bless you. You're doing a great job, and I
Thanks,
really
Jim.
mean that. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show and let people know exactly what you're doing. What are some of the programs that we have in Cumberland County? We appreciate it. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.